Yo, JD here, and as you can see, we are back on F125. And in today's video, we are doing something I haven't actually done for quite a long time, and that is jumping in the time trial and just going as fast as I possibly can. And don't get me wrong, I made some videos on time trial. If you want to be the most complete driver possible, there is more to it than just pushing to the absolute limits in perfect conditions. But I thought, you know what, we've got Silverstone this weekend, and instead of doing the normal layout, we have been given the blessing of the reverse version in this game. So I thought, you know what, let's have a bit of a laugh here and just have a bit of fun, honestly, because I haven't done something like this for quite a while. But also, I know qualifying and my one-lap pace is definitely an area I need to improve on, especially in this season of league racing. I cannot afford to be starting in the midfield, getting caught up in some carnage and stuff like that. So I thought, have a bit of fun, but also just try and work on my raw one-lap pace and just really pushing to those limits as much as possible. So if you did enjoy the style video and you want me to do more of these around every single track, please give the video a like. I have actually uploaded my setup I use for the race online. For this video, I've just used currently the fastest time trial time on PlayStation, so it's exactly the same. Didn't change the setup at all. But when it comes to online, you do definitely need to be making a few tweaks here and there. And I just really hope you enjoy this, because in the past when I used to do videos like this, I think it is quite cool to see the transformation or the progression of how much time you can actually make up in a relatively short period. When you go away and practice time trials, I wouldn't recommend normally doing over 30-40 minutes. It's quite easy to then get stuck in the same muscle memory, and then people tend to overdrive. It's something I say in my coaching all the time. But for today, I'm kind of throwing that out the window. I spent a good hour and a half doing this, and as I say to people in coaching as well, I would recommend doing short bursts, have a little bit of a break, come back a bit later, or even come back the next day. You'll be shocked how much more used you are to the track, how much more dialed in you are muscle memory wise, and it just enables you to actually keep on learning and developing your muscle memory. And whenever I do this, I always like to start off with the preset setup, so basically a stock setup. I think this is the preset 4 with the little bit of the lower downforce, so 12 wings. And I have to say, this track in reverse actually really surprised me. It feels completely different to the normal layout, but it just feels so much faster. So let me know what you think if you've actually attempted this. It just feels like almost Jeddah. You're just going absolutely flat out all the time. So going through the final chicane, which is now the first 2 corners here, these corners, it just feels like you're going absolutely a million miles an hour through here. And with the stock setup, I always like to try and get within maybe a second and a half-ish of the world record on my platform, which is PlayStation. And if I can do that, it just gives me a lot of confidence when I put on a setup, because typically with setups, you're probably going to be gaining about 1 to maybe 1.5 seconds if you really nailed it. That's something I found on previous games. So the goal was to try and get into the 27s. If I could do that with a preset setup, that's going to give me a lot of confidence when I actually bolt on the real setup itself. And you can see as the laps are going down, we are slowly but surely getting quicker. You can see the first lap I ever did, I was absolutely lost around here, just trying to basically think backwards, literally, compared to a normal Silverstone layout. And yeah, it's a bit of a thing to get your head round, but you can see, you surprise yourself how quickly you do learn. Within 8 to 9 full laps here, we're going about 4 seconds quicker than we did at the start. And the more I did this track, the more I enjoyed it. I think I'll actually be doing some races here on the weekend. So again, if you click the join button, not only do you get access to the setups I actually use online for my league racing, get to speak to me directly with any questions you want. Also, you will know well in advance when I do some lobbies and get priority invites into those lobbies. But you can see 27.8, 2,563rd on the leaderboard, so not too bad. The world record is a 25.9, which is absolutely ridiculous. Don't know if that is legit. Potentially it could be legit. But I think the goal is to, if I can get within half a second of maybe like a 26.0, something like that, 26.1, I'd be pretty happy. I know people like Carl and other people, my friends, they've been doing that mid to high 26s. So if I could do, like a mid 26, I'd be pretty happy with that, to be honest. And again, time trial and qualifying is definitely, I would say, a little bit of a weakness of mine, something I have to really work on. You can see we're actually loading in the world record setup now, so let's see how this goes. But yeah, for me, I feel my strengths are adapting in the race when the tyres are going off, the grip is going off, and the constant change of balance. That's something almost kind of a different skill set. But in terms of pushing the fundamentals and pushing them to the absolute maximum and not leaving any time on the table, that's something I need to definitely improve on. If I can improve on that, it's going to be making my races much easier. And you can see running the setup here now, it was a lot more downforce in the corners, a little bit slower on the straight, because I think it was 12-12 for the preset, and now this is 18-12. So, but you can see even going through corners like this, if you just turn too much, you actually scrub off so much speed. So around here, it's not even when you're using the brakes, if you're going completely flat out and you're turning more than you need to, going around a lot of corners. As I say to people in my coaching, again, always trying to choose the line of least resistance. You always want to be keeping the wheel as straight as you can, as much as you possibly can. You can see how much time that actually costs you. But again, I really hope you enjoy these videos, because hopefully it's not only educational for you, but maybe motivating for you, that actually you can progress much more than you think in the relatively short amount of time. And we do a 27.6, so 2 tenths faster than I did at a preset. But every single lap I'm doing here, and this is what I always say to people as well, if you're doing time trial or really anything, even if you're making mistakes, unless you're flying off into a wall, if you make a mistake and you lose 3 or 4 tenths, I would really encourage you to keep going as much as possible, because it's very important to build that muscle memory. If you keep on resetting to track or restarting a lap every time you make a mistake in like the first sector or second sector, and you haven't really done laps where you've actually been just driving it all together, I think for me that's a very underrated thing. So yes, it might be a little bit more time consuming, but I think you're going to be using that time with much more quality. And every single lap, I'm always, as you can see here, going quite wide at this apex. I'm always kind of logging in my head, okay, I know I can actually gain a lot of time in this corner, I can carry much more momentum here, I could be much more tighter to the apex for this one, and then slowly but surely starting to add them together. It's actually the small things that add up to make a big difference. So even though I'm about a second away from where I want to be right now, which seems like a big gap, if I just added pretty much almost half a tenth per corner and then put that together, that's where the time is. So actually it's sometimes, not sometimes, but I'd say most of the time, it really is the small things. And you can see we are slowly but surely chipping away. Every time I improve the time, that just gives me a little bit more confidence, just solidifies that muscle memory, and kind of just trains me to know actually this is the muscle memory I need to apply to get this lap time. And it's kind of like, again, if you're going away practicing, trying to be as fast as you can, it's like cramming in a bit of homework for an exam or revision. You don't want to be doing all in one day. You want to be spacing out many days before, because if I came back to this the day afterwards, I guarantee that I would be probably hitting the 26 point, or probably in the 26s quite quickly, and then I'll be able to progress even more so, because I've had time to digest, absorb that muscle memory, and now I'm much more fresh to actually learn something else. But you can see here, if you don't have enough momentum off some of these corners, so like if you come through here, you can see just that little scrub of momentum costs you so much time, and you can see it's pretty much almost a straight for this first and second sector, costs you so much time in a straight line. So it's really crucial to get the best exit you possibly can. You can't perfect every part of the corner, go as braking as late as you possibly can, and I think people are just trying to overuse the inputs quite a lot, especially when I see my coaching. So sometimes you've got to be thinking about the overall result. You've got to be compromising a part of the corner to get the best overall. And you can see we're into quite comfortably the 26s now, almost into the top 200 in the world. My target, if I could get in the top 100 worldwide, then I'd be really happy about it. There's been 30,000 people who have attempted this time trial. But then usually after about the 20 to half an hour mark, that's normally when I would step away. But that's typically what I see in myself personally, where I start to really hit the limit of that muscle memory for that day. It's like if you're trying to throw everything at the wall, eventually it will all stick. but doesn't mean you're actually progressing muscle memory wise. So after about half an hour, this is where I kind of almost plateau just that little bit, and you can see the lap times are very, very close together now, and we're constantly doing 0.6s, 0.7s. Again, this is the point where quite often a lot of people tend to overdrive. So I know I'm already doing the right things fundamental wise. I just need to, like corners like this, hit this apex just a little bit more. You can see we actually get a really good exit this time, and you can see because of that, look at how much momentum we are actually carrying. But then going through this corner here, this is when we have to be really disciplined, and you can see we miss the apex ever so slightly, and you can see because we just missed the apex slightly, but then we straight line this next section, we lost time, but now we've just gained it back again. So you see going through cops in reverse, if you miss that slightly, look at the time you lose. Doesn't seem like a big deal, but if you're doing that for every single corner, if you're not perfecting the angle that you're turning through the corner as well, and then we're using too much curb, you can see how much of a drastic effect that actually has. And yeah, it's normally, again, about half an hour is where I normally reach my peak, and we get a pretty good last sector here. A little bit of a worse exit, but actually gain some time on the entry. And this is going to be a pretty solid lap. So coming across the line, this is a 26.5, so just 1,000 in the 0.5s. That's kind of where I wanted to be. And again, after half an hour, this is where I kind of really reach my peak for this session. I normally would step away for maybe an hour or two, come back in the afternoon, or maybe even come back the next day. And typically when I do that, I can get to 0.5 within the first 3 laps, and then normally gain like a tenth of a bit pretty quickly. So, but today, again, we are throwing that out the window, and I decided to change car. So going from the Ferrari to the Red Bull, because in my opinion, again, and this will probably be a very separate video, I do feel the cars are handling wise and characteristic wise are a bit different. And see, we did quite a few laps. So again, I reached my peak after about half an hour, but after quite a few laps, we eventually go 300ths of a second quicker after 20 laps in the Red Bull. So then I decided to try the McLaren. The difference between the Ferrari and Red Bull just seemed quite a bit more stable actually. Not as good in the high speed. And I also noticed the gears, very similar to F124, the gear ratios seem to be actually way shorter in the Red Bull. Let me know what you think if you've actually tested that yourself. But I decided to go in a McLaren because I actually felt on the last game, F124, that this was probably the best overall, most balanced car. So I thought, you know what, let's go ahead and jump in it. And you can see on our first few laps in this car, we automatically get on the pace. And doesn't mean it's quicker or anything like that because I'm warmed up at this point. But I just felt just a lot more stable. I just had a really good balance in this car. You can see we lost time on the entry, but then you see in the exit, if you carry good momentum, and towards the end of the lap, despite almost being a tenth down, we do another 0.5. So this is looking good. I was feeling really comfortable in this car, and yeah, hopefully soon we will see what we can do. But again, playing for about an hour and a bit now. But now we finally actually put something together. So taking through the lap, going through in reverse through the chicane, completely flat out, got to be turning much earlier than you think. This is a corner where I could gain so much more time. I could be gaining another tenth and a half just going through this corner. Now going through at the end of Hanger Straight in reverse. This is a really difficult corner. You have to be maximizing everything. Actually run on the gravel a little bit. Didn't actually cost me too much. You can see a little bit of momentum. Going from Megas to Megas to reverse. This corner here, have to be really disciplined. It could have been tighter. So this is a corner where I could have gained quite a bit of time. We actually lost some time, but then threading the car through here, if you just choose the right angle, you can make up so much time. And look at the time we just made up. Even though we were going flat out, going through cops, have to use that curb at the inside to hook the car, get the rotation through, and you can see again, look how much time, shortest line possible going into here, and then really attacking this apex, let it go in deep. So pretty much exactly the same as you would do reverse. And through here, we actually lost all the time. So we were about 3/4 of a tenth up, and then we've almost lost that entire time. So pretty much almost a tenth going through here. This corner, I absolutely love. This would be a really good overtaking opportunity when it comes to online. We managed to do this pretty well. I know going through this last corner here, there's quite a bit of time to make up. So really aggressive on the throttle, unwind at will. We get a pretty good exit through here. Then choose the shortest line possible, going towards line, cutting the corner just a little bit. And this is a 26.5 0.36, a very low 0.5. I think just initially off this, I think there's another 1/10 to 2/10. I think if I did this more consistently on a day-to-day basis, world record might be a bit of a stretch, but I think we could get pretty close to this. So I was actually quite happy with this. You can't see it here because my webcam is blocking it, but I actually got in the top 100 worldwide on all platforms. And then for PlayStation, I actually was in the top 25. I was actually 25th. So I was pretty happy with that. For me, being a non-TT merchant, this is something I'm going to be working on. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you learned something, and hopefully it was actually a little bit motivational that you could do the same as well. So thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you very soon. Peace.